everyone. I welcome you all again to another episode of UGC NET preparation with me. So, the first two episodes, you can find the general paper, Unit 1, Teaching Aptitude. So, it's made in two parts, Part 1 and Part 2. So, in case you need to look at those, please go back to the playlist and you can find these two videos there. And today's video, as you know by now, it's going to be on folk literature, because the first episode only I shared that I would be sitting for folk literature. And I also find this a very vital, significant video, because I do not find a lot of videos on folk literature, nor do I find a lot of books or material online. So I feel that because I have my master's in folk literature, so I think this would be very much needed, and I think a lot of people would get benefited from this. So that is the motivation to make this particular video. So before starting with the video, I wanted to share my process of learning or studying for UGC NET. Um, so basically, what I'm doing is I'm doing one topic and finding out the previous year question papers, and skimming it and seeing whether what kind of questions are coming from there. And according to that, I'm making these videos. And as you know that these are huge, huge topics, and you can go on and on with these topics. But then I'm only concentrating on the parts which are there in the previous year question papers. So also, this can be a reminder for you. If you are preparing for UGC NET, kindly go through the previous year question papers as you keep studying through each unit, or each topic, because that would provide better understanding of the topic itself, as well as the basic motive is to clear net, right? So I think that can be beneficial. Okay, so let's go with it. Also, to remind you that I am doing self study, so do not consider my videos as something very ultimate, or because I am studying for myself, and whatever the situation is, I'm trying to make the best out of it. So in case you are watching these videos, kindly give me suggestions in the comments so that I can improve on the videos, as well as make it more informative. Also, that would help not only me but many of us who are studying for UGC NET. Leave your message, whatever be it, positive, negative, or if you have any suggestion, do get in touch in the comment section. Also, my email ID is there in the description, so you can write me an email as well. Also, if you want certain topics to be covered in details, you can write to me in the comment, as well as you can mail me as well. So I'm open to that. I'll try to present more videos on the topic suggested by you once the whole syllabus is done. Yeah, so let's go forward with UGC NET folk literature, and this is the paper 2. So whoever have selected paper 2 as folk literature, that would be beneficial. This video would be beneficial for you. So moving forward, this is the syllabus. Syllabus can be found very easily online. So I have still just jotted down the syllabus here. One is folklore, definition, concept, and classification. Second is historiography of folkloristics, folk literature, theories of folklore, diachronic approach, theories of folklore, synchronic approach, folk life and cultural performances, public folklore and mass media, folklore and globalization, Indian folk cultural practices, and the last one is fieldwork, documentation, and archival practices. So today in this video, I will be covering these key topics. This is the Unit 1, Folklore, Definition, Concept, and Classification. And I will be covering in this video key concepts, family types, functions of family, kinship terminologies. And the next part of this particular unit will be covered in the next video. All right. So going forward with the basic concepts of folk, there are certain terminologies which we need to understand before we move on to the folk literature as a whole. So, what is folk, what is folk life, and what is folkloristics? These three things and these three terminologies should be very much clear to us. So, folk, what is folk? Folk refers to any particular group of people who share at least one common factor, like any common occupation, any common language or religion. Folk cannot be demarcated through geographical notions or literary reasons alone. It cuts across geographical boundaries. Folk implies some collectivity as a shared experience. All folk members may not know each other. So, when we talk about folk, it's not about a particular rural, collective community. It can be any community in which there is something which is common to each one of them, and it can be a huge community in which one person may not know the other person personally. So, for example, in a particular region, there are certain people who are speaking a certain dialect. So, when we would be speaking about these, people who are speaking this particular dialect, we can say that this particular group as a folk. So, it can be based on any particular shared commonality. And now we move on to folk life. It is the living tradition or the practice passed on by oral means, by imitation or observation over time. It exchanges or practices folk life, and folk life is fluid. Creates, sustains identity of a group, community life, and values artistically expressed in myriad forms and interactions. So, folk life is the day to day life of people in which you follow certain traditions, which maybe you have noticed from the previous generation, or certain songs, which or certain proverbs which you have heard from your ancestors or your parents and from your grandparents maybe. So the way of life, or the certain traditions or certain materials, even the material culture also, which has been orally transmitted or transmitted by imitation, is folk life. It's fluid because there are certain traditions which we change according to our own way of doing things, and maybe a certain design, which a shawl made by certain folk people. There are certain shawls. Now, the next generation might add certain particular designs which are more relevant to them. So, folk life is fluid. Now we move to folkloristics. Now, folkloristics is an academic discipline in which we study the phenomena of folklore, denoting the oral traditions, rituals, crafts, and other forms of vernacular expressive culture. So, moving on. Another very important concept which we need to be clear about here is the ethnicity of a particular group. Now, ethnicity means a group of people who identify with each other based on certain attributes which are shared, or that particular attribute which distinguish them from the other groups. So, for example, there can be a similar place of origin. Say that I'm born in Bengal, and all of the people, those they are born in Bengal, they would share a common ethnicity with respect to the place of origin. Similarly, it can be shared history, it can be shared language, it can be a shared tradition. So it can be construed as an inherited or socially imposed construct. So it's certainly fluid because it keeps on changing. For example, by the way of language shift, acculturation, adoption, and religious conversion, individuals or groups may over time shift from one ethnic group to another. Now, suppose that I'm born in a particular place where my mother tongue is Bhojpuri. Now, when I move to another state, maybe in somewhere in South India, and there the most common language of communication is Tamil. Now, I learn Tamil as I grow up, as well as at home I speak Bhojpuri. So, probably if I live there for 2 3 more generations, maybe my grandson or granddaughter would start speaking Tamil and take certain cultural nuances or certain traditions which are over there, which are regional. So, maybe they would lose out my mother tongue, which is not their mother tongue in the true sense. So, it's kind of fluid. Now, we have noticed that there can be certain religious conversions, and due to religious conversions, the adoption of certain cultural attributes also gets changed. And that is why we see that maybe the faith is same all over, but the cultural nuances make these, fluid nuances here and there. And we, try to understand that what is more traditional, what is more authentic, but the whole process is just jumbled up, and that is the true nature of ethnicity, or you can say culture as well. So it's fluid, divided in subgroups or tribes, which over time may become separate ethnic groups themselves due to endogamy or physical isolation from the parent group. So there can be a certain tribe and sub-tribe under that tribe. Probably, if you imagine that, for example, a particular sub-tribe moved from that location to another location geographically and settled there. After a certain period of time, after say 2 3 generation or even less than that, these that tribe would be sharing a very different ethnicity from the sub tribe which has moved on because of the physical isolation, and they won't feel connected. So they would not say that we belong from the same ethnicity, because of the physical isolation and the cultural attributes they have changed over time. Separate ethnicities may eventually merge into single ethnicity. Yes, and there has been debate in the past between the primordialism and constructivism. So, what is primordialism and constructivism? Primordialism is a concept in which we think that uh, this ethnicity, the concept of ethnicity, is primordial. It's basic to the nature. And constructivism is the concept in which we say that it's a social construct. Ethnicity is a social construct. So this particular ideology that it's a social construct, ethnicity is a social construct, it has come up in 1960s, and it got established very well. Now we move on to the next topic, which is family types. So we can divide it into six bases, and subtypes. We can find out different types of families. So on the basis of marriage, there can be three types of families: polyandrous, polygamous, and monogamous. So to be specific, monogamous kind of marriages happen in which there is one partner, one husband, and one wife. Polyandrous is a kind of a marriage in which there can be one wife and more than one husbands. Then polygamous relationships can have one husband and more than one wife. Similarly, on the basis of residence, there can be matrilocal, patrilocal, and changing residence. So, matrilocal denotes a custom in marriage in which the husband goes to live in wife's community. And similarly, patrilocal is the wife goes to the husband's house and lives there in that community. And changing residence denotes a kind of family in which the married couple change their residence alternatively. Sometimes the wife joins her husband's house, while at some other times the husband resides in the wife's house. And that's why this type of family is known as family of changing residence. Now, it's on the basis of ancestry or descent, matrilineal and patrilineal. So, matrilineal is based on the kinship with the mother on the mother side, or the female line, and similarly, patrilineal is on the male side. On the kinship is based on the men's family. Moving on to the next family types. Now, based on authority, matriarchal and patriarchal. So here we can understand who's the authoritative here. If the women in the house are authoritative in the authoritative position, it's a matriarchal society. And if the authoritative partner is the male, then it's the patriarchal society. Then, on the basis of size or structure, it can be nuclear or joint. In nuclear, it's just husband, wife, and their children living. And in joint families, you will have uncles, aunts, grandparents, everyone living together. On the basis of nature of relation, conjugal and consanguine. So, conjugal means after marriage, the marital relationships are known as conjugal relationships, and consanguine are the relationships which are based on blood relations. So, Here are the family types. Now, moving on, we try to understand here the basic functions of family. Why are family needed? So, a lot of questions have come up from the basic functions of the family, and I think this is one of the very important um, topics from where a lot of questions have come, the previous year questions. The first one is socialization and education. This is one of the function of the family, so that the individuals, those they are into this family, understand what is socialization, or how to socialize, and they educate themselves through this particular interaction within the family. And if you can understand it in a way that when children are growing up and not really going out much, their first interaction happens within the family, and the kind of socialization they go through, even the nuclear family and also in the joint family, the kind of relationships they see there, and the interaction, they understand a lot of nitty-gritties of socialization, of what is to be accepted and what is to be not, and they educate themselves on the basic level. Then family's basic function is to give emotional support, that at the end you know that if nobody is standing with you, it's your family always standing with you, and supporting you. Next is economic security. So in today's time, when everything is getting more and more economy oriented, there are more than one person who are trying to cover for their expenses. So in a family, if the parents, both of the parents are earning money, it gives a kind of economic security rather than only one parent earning. So functions of family is also to support each other, not only emotionally but also economically. Cultural transmission is the fourth one, and according to that, we can say that whatever cultural attributes we get, or the traditions we follow, or the rituals we follow, everything has been transmitted at some point or the other, from our family, from our parents or grandparents. So culturally you get a lot of knowledge, and you follow certain do's and don'ts, as you have been transmitted with the knowledge, maybe orally or maybe through imitation. Now, we go to the challenges in family function. So, every family, when it is functioning, there are a few challenges which are going parallelly. So, we would be discussing certain challenges. So, the first one is dual career families. Excuse me for the spelling of the career here. Dual career families, in one hand, you are getting an economic support for the family, but on the other hand, if both the parents are working and they are going out for earning, they are not able to spend time with the family as much as it is needed. In nuclear families, we see that this is a sort of challenge in which children are dependent on someone else outside the family to get nourished, or get that cultural affiliation, or get education, socialization, rather than inside, they get it outside the homes. So there can be a challenge, but there are other facilities which are available nowadays, that we see that a lot of parents are working from home, and there are so many ways in which in the modern hybrid work culture, these challenges people are trying to overcome. The next one is single parent families. We nowadays see that a lot of families are single parent families. You can say that it becomes a little challenging for one person to look after the needs of the children, as well as themselves, as well as their earning, as well as they are taking care of the household. So giving particular time to the kids, and maintaining all the functions of living and supporting themselves economically, so that becomes a little challenging at times. um, Although there are in the modern times, we can see a lot of hybrid work cultures, in which it has become a little easier to cope, but not everyone is able to get through those kind of a working culture. Also, it depends on the kind of career the person has chosen. Now, the next one is digital influence. Now, digital influence is everywhere. So digital influence certainly is a huge influence in the family function, and sometimes it can also create certain challenges, like when we are sitting in a dinner table and everyone is there, suppose, and everyone is there on the phone and nobody is actually talking to them within themselves, and that kind of denotes that the socialization is happening not on the personal level, rather it is happening on the digital level. We have family WhatsApp groups and cousin WhatsApp groups in which the digitally we are more influenced than a personally one-to-one interaction. Now we try to understand what are the patterns of kinship. Now there are these 6 patterns of kinship: Hawaiian, Sudanese, Eskimo, Iroquois, Crow kinship, and Omaha kinship. So now let's try to understand Hawaiian kinship. So Hawaiian kinship basically distinguishes between the sex and generation, and siblings and cousins are not distinguished. So moving on, Sudanese kinship is the most descriptive one, and the siblings are distinguished from the cousins, and every type of cousin is termed in a very different way. Eskimo kinship. Both classifications and descriptive kinship process in which it distinguishes between the sex and generation and linear relatives and collateral relatives. Iroquois Iroquois kinship is in which both it is classificatory and descriptive. It distinguishes between the sex and gender and siblings, and the siblings are grouped together with parallel cousins and separate terms for cross cousins. So, Crow kinship. Crow kinship is distinguished between one's mother side and one's father side. Omaha kinship is like Iroquois, with addition, a number of relatives belonging to one's mother patrilineage are grouped together, ignoring the general generational differences. So here we can understand these kinship or patterns of kinship is selected by certain community or certain group of people. So these kinships are basically telling you that in certain cultures, how are relations segregated, or how are they classified, or how are they termed. Like in Hindi, there is a word called Masi, and for mother's sister, and on the father side, father's brother, we call it chacha. Similarly, when it happens in English, we do not do the same. We call uncle and aunt. So here there is no difference between the father side or mother side, and the classification is quite generalized. So it depends on the culture, on the language, on a particular region or a particular tribe, who denotes what kind of pattern their kinship is like. So it depends on the folk, on the particular group. Moving on, here we can see the types of kinship, in which there are 4 types we can see here: consanguineous and affinal, lineal and collateral, agnatic and cognatic, cultural, social, and cultural. So consanguineous, as I already told you, that these are the blood relationships between siblings, parents, uncles, cousins, etc. And affinal are marital relationships or in-law relationships. Lineal are direct descents, father's father and son's son are lineal. Collateral are indirect descents, like father's brother, mother's sister. Agnatic and cognatic. Agnatic is a relationship by male links or patrilineal links. Cognatic are bilateral or blood relation, kinsmen or kinswomen, like the sibling. In social or cultural, according to Schechner, not all kinship is based on blood or marriage. Kinship was abstract and a cultural construct. Kinship involves social or cultural kin relations as well. For example, social kinship in homosexual families or families of children conceived by surrogacy. So, moving on to the next, here are certain kinship terminologies which are very important in terms of previous year questions. So, I would be sharing What are these terminologies? And we'll try to understand that. So first one is evanculate and amitate. So evanculate is a practice found among the Trobriand islanders of Melanesia, the Fijians, African tribes, and the Nayars of South India. So here, the children and mama in the matrilineal societies, or mother's brother is mama, is very important. And similarly, the amitate is common in patrilineal, where bua or father's sister is treated with great respect, more than a mother. So, for example, this kind of relationships can be found in Polynesian Tonga, Toda of South India, and similar other communities. Now, the next terminology is covert. In Toda and Khasi communities, we see this kind of relationships in which father of the child has to go through various restrictions and austerities in diet and obey certain taboos. And the symbolic depiction of establishing paternity on a child is related to this term. And that is the reason why one's father has to go through all these austerities. So for example, there are Nayars of South India, Anis of Japan, and in a few Chinese villages also we see the same pattern. Now, the next terminology is technonymy, and this term was coined by Edward Tyler, and it is the idea that you are referring to another person in your family not by name but by the relation with respect to the other one. Like it's a very common practice in certain places in India that you don't call your husband or your wife by their name. Rather, you call it with respect to the children, like Guddu ki amma or Chotu ke papa, like that. Now, the last one is moiety, fraternity, and clan. Now, to understand moiety, fraternity, and clan, we need to understand that kinship is a universal feature of human culture that served as major organizing principle in human societies, and it's kind of it's a defined as a principle by which individuals or groups or individuals are organized into particular social groups, roles, categories, genealogy by means of kinship terminologies. To understand moiety, we can take the example of a village. So, suppose that all the houses in the village are somewhere connected in their genealogy from a single ancestor. Now, as a whole, when we look at the village, we will call it a moiety. And then when we look at different houses, we'll call it fraternities, different fraternities. And then there can be different clans. Say a particular person had 10 children, and each child has their own lineage, and each child has their own clan. So the lineage can be one, but there can be different clans, and each clan can have same ancestor. Maybe the grandfather is the same, or grandfather's grandfather is the same, but there are different clans. Now, lineage is the direct descent, or it can be patrilineal or matrilineal, anyways. So I think this is clear that what is moiety, fraternity, and clan, and here we also have the understanding of lineage or descent. So, as we come to the end of this session today, we will try to understand certain parts of this particular unit of folklore definition, concept, and classification, in which we would be speaking about the genres and functions of folklore, in which we would be also speaking about how the folklore came into term from popular antiquities, and we'll be speaking about certain theories given by scholars. So all of that we'll be doing in the next session. Next Sunday we'll be meeting you again, and on that note, stay tuned, keep reading, and never stop learning. See you all on next Sunday again. Do not forget to leave a comment, to share your experiences through the videos I'm sharing. In case you have any particular comment or any particular suggestion for UGC NET, do connect to me. Keep solving the question papers from the previous years. That would give a lot of clarity. Thank you so much. Bye bye.